Happy Friday to all of my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 94 and season 3, episode 27 of Thoughts and Hunches, Making Money in Bunches, and Sucker Punches. It sounds like there's music going on in the background. Yeah, we're going to do a soundtrack as we go through our picks. Your boy Stoney back for the 94th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow hoodlums, scumbags, cheats, lowlifes, hustlers, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics with abusive language, fienders, degenerates, and Italians. I mean, let's face it, if you're Italian, you probably check all those boxes. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit into one or two of those categories. So welcome aboard. And make sure to hit the button right down here in the lower right-hand corner so you can be notified every time I put out a new video. It's usually around this time on Friday evening, unless otherwise noted. To spread the word, that's also very easy. Just tell other hoodlums, tell other gangsters, tell other whatever you want to call them, altar boys, to go to YouTube and enter hashtag STONIE'S winners, all one word. That's not STONEY, but it's STONIE. Just like it says right down here, right here in the bottom left, down here next to my picture. Click on that. It'll take you directly to my page. Now, before we get to the picks, I have a couple of thoughts. Let's start with Tampon Gate from last week. For those of you that don't know, Tiger Woods was in a threesome with Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas during the first 2 rounds of last week's Genesis Open in LA. Rory and JT are probably Tiger's 2 best friends on tour. So you know there was a lot of shit talking in that threesome. When Tiger outdrove Thomas on one particular hole, as they were walking up the fairway, Tiger gave a tampon to JT. I thought it was brilliant. Now, forget about the fact that Woods was carrying a tampon in his pocket during the round, but what happened afterwards was an all-timer. One woman, a reporter for the ultra-left USA Today, was offended by the gesture, right? And she called out Tiger, making it a headline instead of a blurb, which is what it should have been because it was between friends. Christine Brennan, the one who wrote the article, called Tiger misogynist, and the father of a daughter should not have made the statement, which was practically, you play like a girl. Nobody's ever heard of Christine Brennan before, and I don't think anyone will care what she says going forward. But she was then upset that the media, quote, protected Tiger after his stunt, when in fact Tiger was forced to apologize for doing absolutely nothing wrong. The world we live in right now is absolutely crazy these days, when one person who doesn't understand about golf etiquette goes off on the biggest name in the history of golf and forces him to apologize. If I were Tiger, I would have said, I apologize. I'm not sure for what, but it's what my team told me I should do. Moving on to the chumps or the punks of the week, my vote goes to the National Basketball Association. Just 6 years ago in 2017, the NBA pulled the All-Star game out of the city of Charlotte after the state of North Carolina passed the bill not making transgender bathrooms and instead only sticking with the 2. This was the NBA wielding their power, let's call it, around because they want to be, quote, in the forefront of social justice issues and will not shut up and dribble. For 4 years later, Major League Baseball did the same thing, pulling their All-Star game out of Atlanta after voter ID laws became the latest talking point. Showing the type of hypocrisy that they have become known for, just 2 years later, the NBA hosted preseason games in the United Arab Emirates, which criminalizes homosexuality to the point where you can be beheaded just for being a homosexual. Last weekend, the NBA held their All-Star game in Salt Lake City, in a state that just passed 2 laws. One saying that in order to play in high school sports, the athlete must play according to the gender on their birth certificate. And the second that said you have to be 18 years old in order to change your identity. In a country where you have to be 16 to drive, 18 to vote or get a tattoo, 21 to smoke or drink alcohol, and 25 to even rent a car, this seems like a reasonable request that prevents 13-year-old boys from cutting off their junk to become a girl. Now you have to be 18, right? So with these two bills that were just passed, the NBA still decided to hold their All-Star game in Salt Lake City and never even brought up the subject during last week's fiasco that was nothing more than a glorified layup line. Yes, Damian Lillard and Mac McClung single-handedly saved the weekend from becoming the worst spectacle of, quote, basketball that the world has ever seen. But the big story is the NBA's reluctance to address the state of Utah's bills. Like the hypocrites that they are, Adam Silver and his gang, including the stars like LeBron, who's always first to, quote, speak up, did exactly what others told them they should do back in 2017. Shut up and dribble. That's exactly what they did. There was no Steve Kerr or Greg Popovich speaking out like they always do. Instead, they gave the world the lowest rated All-Star game ever. And it was so bad that Western Conference head coach Mike Malone called it the worst basketball game of all time. This is the head coach of the Western Conference All-Stars saying this. So some of you would like to know why I only give college hoops plays and not the NBA. This is exactly why. Now, as for the picks last week, guess what? Ho-hum. Not a mind-blowing week. Started 0-2 and had kind of an uneven finish, but got red-hot Saturday morning and rode that all the way to my 13th consecutive winning week. Yes, how many of you can claim that? Here are the numbers from last week. 18-12 overall. College basketball, what are you going to do? 268 wins, 161 losses, 7 pushes for the season. That's good for 62.47%. Overall, every single pick that I've given you this season in all 26 episodes, this is number 27, 596 wins, 400 losses, and 11 pushes, 59.84%, just under 60%. The goal is to get there to 60. After this week, we will be officially 200 games above 500. Think about that. You're welcome. Once again, let me remind you that all of these picks are 100% free from me to you, and we've done some serious bankroll building this season. So now it's time to continue on our push to 60% overall. So let's kick it off with a few games tonight, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern in Fort Collins. And I'm going to start with a road dog in Wyoming, plus 7.5 at Colorado State. Yeah, both teams are shitty, but the Rams aren't good enough to be 8-point chalk over anyone in the Mountain West. Remember now that all times are Eastern time. Tonight, 9:30, I'm going to take another road dog in Air Force, plus 9.5 at UNLV in America's Playground at the Thomas and Mack Center. The Rebels are clearly the better team, but after losing 4 out of 5, are seeing their tournament hopes go right down the shitter. Rebels win, Falcons cover. And as for tonight's late game, I'm going to make it 3 road teams in the Mountain West tonight, with Nevada-Reno as a 3.5-point favorite, road favorite, at the Save Mart Center down in Fresneck. Head coach Steve Alford, yes, UCLA fans, that's Steve Alford, has the Wolfpack playing very well lately and have rolled to 4 out of 5, covering all of their W's, while Fresno has dropped 3 out of 4. Nevada continues its push for the NCAA tournament with a win rather easily tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to get it all started with a team that has now hit for us 5 straight Saturdays. Yep, it's the world-famous Seawolves of Stony Brook University and their flashy 10-20 record. It's almost exactly the opposite against the number, as they're 19-11 to the ATS. And the Wolves have now covered 5 straight Saturdays, like I just said. Tomorrow, they get going at noon Eastern as massive 21-point dogs at College of Charleston, who's won 6 straight and sport a gaudy 27-3 record. Give me Stony Brook all day long to kick off our Saturday with all that lumber. Also at noon, I'll take Iowa, -4.5 at home against Michigan State. At noon in the Big 12, I'll roll with Oklahoma, +7 at Iowa State. At noon in the ACC, I'm going to dance with NC State at home, -6 over Clemson. In the Big East, I like St. John's at noon, +7.5 at home over 18th ranked Connecticut. +7.5. Connecticut is good. Connecticut's better, but they don't cover up in stores. And not at stores, but this one's at the Carneseca. Wow, I had all kinds of errors there. To get that correct, St. John's +7.5 over UConn. Back to the brutal Big 12 at noon, and I'm on Texas Tech at home in Lubbock, -2 over number 24 TCU. Back to the Big East for the last of the noon tip-offs, and I'm going to take number 19 Creighton as the lock of the week. As lock of the week number 1 as a 3.5-point road chalk in Stonydelphia over Villanova. At 2 Eastern in Tuscaloosa, I've got Arkansas +9.5 at second-ranked Alabama. Too much drama following Bama this week. The Tide win but don't cover. In the Pac-12 at 2 Eastern, I'm going to dance with Arizona State +12 in Tucson over 7th-ranked Arizona. At 2 Eastern, the biggest game of the day is in the Big 12. Big surprise. And I'm going to dance with number 9 Baylor, laying 3 over number 8 Texas in what should be a great one. Staying in the Big 12 at 2 p.m., I'm on number 14 Kansas State, -2 in Stillwater over Oklahoma State. 3:30, I'm on Hail State, and I'm going to take Mississippi State as a pick'em over number 25 Texas A&M in a battle of 2 tournament-bound teams. But right now, Bulldogs are looking good. West Virginia has struggled lately and may not make it to the tournament, but I'm going to take the Mountaineers +9 on the road at Allen Fieldhouse over 3rd-ranked Kansas. KU gets the win. They win it rather comfortably, but West Virginia has enough to slip through that back door. In a battle of 2 schools heading in opposite directions at 4 p.m. in the SEC, I like Kentucky -3.5 in Lexington over Auburn. At 5 Eastern in the ACC, I have to roll with Pittsburgh at home -6 versus overmatched Syracuse, who just can't seem to get out of their own way these days. 6 p.m. in the ACC, North Carolina is now in a must-win spot, let's face it, and more than likely needs to win their last 2 before the ACC tournament. They got to win tomorrow against Virginia, and then they've also got to beat Duke. Come on, really? Now they're 2.5-point favorites over number 6 Virginia. I just can't in good conscience take the heels here. So give me the Cavs as the short road dog to basically end the season of the preseason number 1 Tar Heels. South Carolina has been sneaky this year in the SEC, getting a lot of covers, and that's why I'm going to take the Gamecocks on the road at 6 p.m. in Knoxville as 20.5-point favorites, 20.5-point dogs against 11th-ranked Tennessee. At 7 p.m., I'm going to dance with San Jose State at home, getting 3.5 from Boise State. Notre Dame's been a total mess this year, so at 7 p.m., I'm on Wake Forest, -6.5 at home in Winston-Salem over the Irish. A few weeks ago, Indiana knocked off then top-seeded Purdue, and at 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night in West Lafayette, Purdue gets their revenge. But I'm going to middle it. They're not going to get the cover. Give me the Hoosiers +7.5 on the road. Hoosier Daddy. Also at 7:30, give me DePaul as the road dog, +15 at Marquette. At 8 p.m., Duke gets the win, but not the cover as 7-point favorites over Virginia Tech. At 8, Salt Lake City, I like Utah as a 2-point home dog to take down USC. At 10 p.m. on and in the West Coast, jump on Santa Clara, -5.5 at San Diego, lock number 2. Staying in the West Coast Conference at 10 p.m., give me San Francisco, the USF Dons, +6.5 in Provo. That can't be right, over Utah. That's an error there, because they're not playing in Provo. I've got USF in Provo over BYU. I was close. I was actually really damn close. St. Mary's knocked off Gonzaga in Moraga 2 weeks ago, and the Zags exact their revenge tomorrow at 10 p.m., but not the cover because the Gales are too tough defensively to get beaten up. So I like SMC +5. 10 p.m. I like San Diego State -1.5 at New Mexico, lock number 3. And finally, 2 more. At 10, give me Oregon State at home +8 over Oregon. And finally, this week's Degenerate Special goes off at 10:30 Eastern in Malibu, and I'll take Pepperdine at home, getting 2.5 over Loyola Marymount. With 3 plays tonight, another 29 tomorrow, 18 wins are just fine. But in order to make those bankrolls fatter and to get to 60%, we got to go big. So we're going to hit them early, and we're going to hit them hard all weekend long. And just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. You can't go broke taking a profit. Scared money don't make money. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.